Chapter 11. I pick up a little rock and throw it toward the mountains. That's exactly what I feel like. A little rock against a mountain. I sit leaning back on one of the boulders in the garden. David's message plays over and over in my head. I only choked out one word before succumbing to my anger and slamming down the phone. God, I'm a genius. He probably thinks I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. At least I got to hear his voice on his message. But it's a shitty consolation prize. I'm at the farthest end of the rock garden, trying to give Aisha and Sohail some semblance of privacy. Aisha's worried about being caught alone with him, so I'm her cover for this quick visit with Sohail. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Sohail inch closer to Aisha. They're perched on one of the giant rocks. I quickly turn away, occupy myself again with throwing pebbles. I'm not looking, but they're only about 10 feet away. I can hear everything, but I pretend not to. Do you think it's weird we met in here? Aisha asks Sohail. Weird is one way to say it. Another is fucked up. Sohail responds. But I'm so glad we did. Aisha laughs. Yeah, it's not exactly how I imagined a meet cute. How did you picture it? Well, I guess I saw myself entering this giant auditorium. It's packed, people jostling for a seat. Excitement crackles in the air. It's the Star Wars panel at Comic-Con. Then I see him, across the crowded room. This handsome guy. You forgot dashing, Sohail interrupts. Oh, sorry. There's a handsome, dashing guy across the room. Our eyes lock. All we see is each other, and then the action slows around me. The faces blur. He walks up to me, and my heart is beating like super fast, and he extends his hand and says, Hi, I'm Riz Ahmed. I try to stifle a snicker. I turn my head to catch Aisha's eye, but she's only looking at Sohail, whose laugh is loud and warm. The camp-wide siren sounds. Why don't you guys go ahead to dinner? I'll catch up, I say to Aisha and Sohail. You okay? Aisha asks. Yeah, I'm good. Need a minute alone. I smile as the two of them set off. Dinner in the mess. Again. I don't think I can stand much more of this. More pretending. More fake smiles and meaningless exchanges with the minders, who always make sure to say hello to each of us during dinner. More sitting on edge, but faking like everything is normal. More wanting to scream, but holding it in because screaming gets you dragged away. In the mess, we're all together in an enclosed space, minders and guards everywhere. And the air is so charged with fear and anxiety. But we can't acknowledge it. We're too scared to draw attention. In this place, the last thing you want is attention. I close my eyes. As the sun sets, the evening cools. If I block everything out for a minute, just for a minute, I can breathe without a weight on my chest. I let my mind float where it wants to go. It always settles on everyday things. Going to the movies, air conditioning, ice cream, kissing David in the stacks of the school library. School. For the barest second, I pray that I'll wake up from this nightmare and be home. Then I force myself to open my eyes and face the stark desert. There's no place for nostalgia here. Layla. The sound of his voice makes me jump up. Corporal Reynolds is alone. He hasn't turned me in for yelling at him, and for saying I hate the president, which used to be free speech but qualifies as treason now. Not clapping for the president at his damn State of the Union address is practically sedition, and some people still think this is a democracy. I wipe the dust off my jeans, Pretend everything is okay. Well, as okay as it can be. I nod. I know. Mealtime. I'll hurry and get to my 5-star dinner, I say, and begin walking toward the mess. I usually meet my parents there. They'll panic if I don't show up on time. Corporal Reynolds grabs my elbow. I freeze. I look up at him, my mouth open. Waves of dread wash over me, and every internal alarm I have is blaring. Maybe I was stupid for thinking he wasn't going to turn me in. Maybe he was waiting to find me alone so I would be easier to take away. Oh, God, how could I have been so careless? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was late. I'll run to catch up with the others. I lick my lips. Suddenly, I'm parched. I blink back tears. It's okay. You're fine. I'm not going to take you anywhere. Sorry. I shouldn't have touched you. He lets go of my arm. Layla. He starts again, but this time his voice is softer. Hang back a second. I have something for you. People make their way to the mess. The guards stationed at the blocks usually follow us to dinner before switching shifts. Everyone's back is turned toward us. My instinct is to run. It's always to run. But where? I wonder if after a while your body starts to wear down when you don't listen to that fight-or-flight response. Does it start to give you the wrong signals because you've ignored all the earlier ones? Does that swooshing sound in your ears ever stop? I'm sorry you couldn't get through to your boyfriend yesterday. That's what he came to tell me? I stare up at him in disbelief. Look, he says, and then carefully pulls what seems to be an ancient flip phone from his pocket and places it in my hand. It's a burner. My brain does not process what he's giving me. Put it in your pocket. I'm going to escort you back to your trailer, and you're going to walk into your bathroom clutching your stomach, and then call your boyfriend. You only have a few minutes. If anyone asks, you got sick by the garden and I brought you here and then to the mess. Do you understand? A million thoughts whir through my brain, but I can't speak. I only nod. We walk down the midway. A couple of other stragglers ahead of me jog toward the mess, but when we turn toward my block, it's empty. No one wants to be late to anything here. We're constantly reminded there will be consequences. No specifics, but that word lingers in the air here. Consequences. When I get into my trailer, I head straight for the bathroom, bent over, arms wrapped around my middle, like Corporal Reynolds instructed me. David picks up on the first ring. Hello? David, I whisper. It's me. Oh my God, Layla. Shh, I say, not knowing where he is or if anyone might be listening on his end. I can't believe I'm hearing your voice. How are you calling me? Holy shit, are you okay? What are they doing to you? Are you hurt? Did they say anything about when they might release you? Do you... His voice. David's voice. Home. But this isn't the time for nostalgia, or sentimentality, or even feelings, really. David, I cut him off. I miss you so much. I love you. But I love you too. I miss you. I can't believe how fucked up everything is right now. David, I need your help. Can you come here? Can you visit me? I know where you are. My dad's old State Department contacts told him. My father's a jerk, but I told him if he didn't find out where you were, I'd never talk to him again. And of course I'll come there, but do they allow... There's a loud knock at the trailer door. Crap. David, I have to go. Please, I'll figure something out. I need you. Maybe we can come up with a way to sneak you in? Another loud knock on the door, and then I hear it open. Goodbye, David. I love you. Layla, wait! Listen, it's lunch. That's why I have my phone. But from now on, I'll keep it on me all the time. Let it ring once, hang up, and dial again. Then I'll know it's you. Also, I love... Layla. Corporal Reynolds' voice fills the entire trailer. We have to go. Now. I hang up on David, slip the phone in my pocket, and step out of the bathroom. Corporal Reynolds practically pulls me out the door. The next shift of guards is arriving, he whispers. Remember, you were sick, so I escorted you to your Mercury home. He quickly scans the vicinity, then gestures for me to give him the phone. He palms it and kneels in the dirt to adjust his laces, tucking the phone in the gap between his sock and boot. He takes me by the elbow and walks me past the guards, who are taking their positions at the head of our block. The two salute him. He nods and we continue to the mess. The other guards give him deference. I mean, they're required to, I guess. But for some of them, the look in their eyes makes it seem like more than a robotic gesture. I look at Corporal Reynolds as we continue on, not sure what to make of him exactly. He's a guard with a gun, but he's also taking a risk to help me. Corporal Reynolds is a puzzle with lots of pieces, but half of them are missing, so I can't really see who he is. Why are you doing this? Helping me? It's only a phone call, he says, then adds, I have my reasons. His tone is gruff, like he's mad, but at himself. Thank you, Corporal Reynolds, I say as we approach the mess. And I mean it. I don't exactly trust him. Those missing puzzle pieces could be anything. They could be hiding a monster. But my gut tells me that what he's hiding isn't so nefarious. Before we are in earshot of the guards outside the mess, he bends down and says softly, Call me Jake. And believe me when I tell you this. Whatever you're planning, whatever you think you might be able to do, think again. Don't do anything stupid. You can get yourself hurt or killed in here. More easily than you know. Chapter 12. There is no news. Not inside the fence. I mean, we hear things. The Whisper network is never silent. Talk of protests on the outside, marches. The government trying to censor the outcry on social media. Word of a second camp being readied. But it's whispers mostly. Bits of rumor from the staff here who aren't military. The ones who feel twinges of guilt that make them feign, not a friendliness, but a base level of civility. Maybe their neighbor is Muslim. Maybe they had a Muslim classmate. Maybe they'd never met a Muslim until they came here, looked one of us in the eye, and realized we are human beings who laugh and cry, like they do, who are flesh and bone, and who bleed. And that scant thread of civility, that nod or half-smile, that extra pat of butter on a scoop of mashed potatoes, sometimes comes with tiny tidbits from the world beyond the fence before it makes its way around Mobius. Like the telephone game. When the final sentence is uttered, it doesn't quite sound like what it started out as. But you can imagine what it was. You can hope. There's a knock on my door. My parents, both of them, standing there with their tea and an extra cup. Tea is their normal morning ritual, but having it in my bedroom is not. In some way, maintaining some rituals helps them. They pray, and my mom always has her Thusby bracelet with her. I know they also enjoyed the normalcy of the way they structured their lives back home. When Dad was fired, and when Mom's patients started dropping off, they were sometimes like ghosts of themselves. They never said anything like that to me. They always tried to shield me, to protect me even from the slightest troubles. But I could tell. And here it's so much worse. I mean, Mom is spending her days at the clinic cracking backs, and Dad is meeting with other teachers and professors to ready a makeshift school, beginning with the younger kids. They're trying to help other people in their own way, because knowing them, I can guess at how helpless they must feel inside. I feel the same way.
Beta, have some tea with us?
My dad asks.
We thought it would be fun for you, like breakfast in bed.
I knit my eyebrows, unsure of what they're talking about. But I move aside and they step in, and my mom closes the door behind them. I pull out the chair at my little desk and gesture for my mom to take a seat. She hands me my cup before sitting down. I take a sip. Sugar and milk, how I like it. My dad finds a comfortable spot to sit cross-legged on the floor, his back against my door. I position myself in the small floor space between the chair and my bed. Then I look at them and shrug. You guys have something you want to say to me? I ask. There are no cameras in the bedrooms, so this definitely means something. There's no other reason they'd squeeze in here for tea, which they prefer to take leisurely. A reminder of what life was before. My mom nods at my father, who clears his throat.
Some of the others were saying that they...
She interrupts him. A couple of the other parents were saying they saw you going somewhere with that guard, the tall one who never smiles. I tense up, but try not to show it on my face. None of the guards ever smile, Mom. They're guards, not the fun squad on a carnival cruise. My mom raises an eyebrow at me. No need to be so sarcastic. Are you saying it's not true? You weren't seen walking to the hub with that guard? Shit. I guess I've been kind of careless. Can't let that happen again. It was nothing. I asked him if I could call David. What? My mom raises her voice. Are you crazy? Asking a guard for a favor? Do you understand what he could do to you?
John.
My dad uses his favorite term of endearment for my mom. My soul, my life. And pats the air with his palm down, a quieting gesture.
Let Layla explain.
They both look at me. I'm sorry. It was nothing. I asked him if we really get a call allotment, and if I could call David. I walked there with him, but then remembered David was in English class, so I wouldn't be able to get through anyway. That's all. Mostly, that's the truth. It's all I can give them now, without worrying them even more. My mom's bottom jaw practically hits the floor. Layla, do you have any idea how foolish you were to even ask him? You put yourself in danger. We don't ever want you to be alone anywhere with one of these guards. You never know what they could... She doesn't allow herself to complete that thought. My dad picks up her thread.
Layla, the best thing we can do here is keep our heads down. Don't attract attention. Fade into the crowd. Stay as anonymous as possible. That's how we'll survive.
I had raised the cup to take a sip of tea, but I put it down on the floor next to me, harder than I mean to, and some of it spills over. I pull my hand back and wipe the hot liquid from my pants. Survive? Is that all we want now? To survive? What about wanting to live? Have we all forgotten that? Have we all decided that our entire lives are going to be spent here? Did I miss the memo?
Layla.
My mom usually tries hard to soften the edge in her voice when she feels it coming on, but not this time. You're young. Too young and too foolish to understand what's happening here. We have no rights and no power, and no one in this family is going to take any risks. Do you understand me?
Beta.
My dad tries to temper my mom's voice by adding his calmer tones. He takes a breath.
Do you remember that line I wrote? Only when you open yourself to the heart's silence can you hear its roar.
I thought you wrote that poem after I was born, about finding love in quiet places. My dad smiles. He stands up, walks over, and squeezes next to me on the floor, and strokes my hair like he used to when I was little. I look at my mom, and there are tears in her eyes.
It is about that. But it's also a reminder that being quiet doesn't always signify weakness. Sometimes it takes great strength to find that silence. Sometimes it takes incredible strength to survive.
My mom takes a deep, quivering breath. My heart hurts for her, for both of them. I worry about them too, but I can't imagine how much more they worry about me. I mean, they built their entire life around my existence. I know they mean well. I don't share their worldview, but I'm not going to tell them that. I'm sorry. You're right. I should have been smarter, more careful. I just miss David so much. My voice cracks when I speak.
We know, Beta,
my mom says. I'm sorry I raised my voice. We're terrified of something happening to you. There are people who... Mom, I know. You don't have to tiptoe around it. Some people disappear, and no one knows where. I was there with you at the orientation, remember? Don't worry. I'm not going to do something stupid. I'm mostly hanging out with Aisha, listening to her talk about Star Wars.
Obviously, Aisha has refined cultural taste, and I totally approve of this friendship,
my dad says, and chuckles a bit. Ha! I already told her you and Mom are total Star Wars nerds. My mom gives me a wistful smile. I'm telling you, young Luke Skywalker, he was my first crush, and first love is one you never forget.
I thought I made you forget all your past loves.
My dad kisses my mom on the cheek. Of course, John. I only have eyes for you now. And young Luke. We laugh. First love is one you never forget. I have to talk to David again. I know I said I wouldn't take any more risks, and I hate lying to my parents. But lies are a part of life in Mobius. It's how we survive. Chapter 13. My parents head off to their jobs. I clean up the dishes and wipe up the tea I spilled on my floor. Normally, I'd go find Aisha right now, and we'd hang by the rock garden. Sohail has been showing up a lot, too. And last night, when we were in line for dinner at the mess, Sohail whispered something to Aisha. Later, she asked if we could skip our normal meetup. I guess she's getting bolder now. She's dropping me as her chaperone. I'm happy for her. We all need distractions in this place. My mom's words still ring in my ears.
First love is one you never forget.
David said he'd get here, and I believe him. But I have to talk to him again, because it's not like he can randomly show up at the front gate. I pull on the hem of the vintage X-Files tee I liberated from my mom's closet years ago. I rub my sweaty palms against my well-worn jeans. There's only one way to get a phone. I step outside. After talking to my parents, I know that the drones and the guards aren't the only eyes that are on me. I look around. Now that a lot of the adults have jobs, most of them are occupied during the day. There's a kind of daycare where the grandparents take care of little kids. The block is pretty quiet. The guards patrol in shifts. Corporal Reynolds is on our block duty today. Carpe diem. I don't run or try to walk in a hurry. I don't do anything that might seem unusual. I casually stroll toward the guards like I'm going to pass them. There are no drones above. Now is as good a time as any to take a stupid chance. I trip. Ow! I yell out, louder than necessary. The guards turn to look at me. Corporal Reynolds says something to the other guard on duty with him, and then walks to me. I'm on the ground, rubbing my ankle.
Are you okay?
He asks, kneeling next to me. Yes. I wanted to get your attention, but wasn't sure how. He shakes his head.
You have to stop doing dumb, risky stuff like this.
I don't have time to take offense. I need to talk to David. Can you get me a phone again, maybe?
Jesus.
Corporal Reynolds rubs his forehead. He sighs.
Get up and pretend it hurts to walk.
I slowly push myself up. He takes my elbow and escorts me back to my Mercury home. I do my best to feign a limp, and I think I'm pretty good at it because I've totally sprained my ankle before while playing tennis, so I know how it feels. Not that I'm winning any Oscars, but good enough. When we get to my door, he whispers,
Go inside. Stay there. For once, please listen. I'll be back.
I nod and walk in. I wait inside like I was told. Minutes pass. I pace the room a little, remembering to limp for the camera. Then I sit down at the table, lifting my leg to let it rest on the chair next to me. I try to forget that any minute I could be talking to David. So I let my mind drift elsewhere. I wonder what Aisha and Sohail are doing right now. Actually, no, I don't wonder. I hope she's maybe sneaking her first kiss. I hope she's smiling. Sohail is a good guy, I think. I pray my instinct about him isn't wrong. The knock at the door makes me jump, even though I was expecting it. My startle reflex is a lot more sensitive these days. I fake hobble to the door and open it slowly, ever conscious of the camera in here. Corporal Reynolds looks at me and allows a small smile to crack his normally serious veneer. He hands me multiple ice packs.
For your ankle, he says. You should probably lie down with your leg propped on a pillow. That's what the nurse told me.
I take the ice packs, thank him, and shut the door. I want to run into my room, but I don't. I take my time, reminding myself to limp. Once I'm safely in my room, door shut, I pull the top ice pack off the bottom one. A black flip phone is in a small plastic bag along with a note.
In 30 minutes, there will be a shift change. The guard I'm with will talk to the new guys. Bring the phone back to me, between the ice packs. Say thank you, walk away. Don't be late. Run water on this note until the ink runs. Then rip it up, pulp it, and flush it.
I dial David's number. Let the phone ring once, hang up, then dial again, like he told me. It rings 3 times before he picks up.
Layla?
He whispers.
Sorry, I had to grab the bathroom pass to walk out of class.
Hearing his voice makes me feel like a boulder has been lifted from my chest, letting me breathe again. David? I start crying softly, but wipe away my tears. I quickly clear my throat. David, can you get here? I need you to help me figure some way to get out of here.
I'll be there tomorrow. It's not a far drive.
What will you say to your parents?
Fuck them. I asked my dad if he could use his State Department contacts to help get your family out, and he said that's not how it works. That they'll only let people out who are useful to them.
I hate him for going along with all of this. And my mom. I don't know how she can stay silent about what's happening. I know they're scared, but it's like they've forgotten everything they taught me.
I barely register David's words. Hearing his voice is thrilling and heartbreaking at the same time. Then I'm slapped with the realization of what I've done. The ridiculous risk I've asked him to take by coming here. It's not worth it. I don't know what I was thinking. David, I love you so much, but I was wrong to ask you. You can't come. It's dangerous, impossible. We don't have visitors.
Layla, we'll figure out a way. Remember when I said this wasn't going to be the end of you and me? I meant it. I'm with you. Always. Is there some place we can meet without anyone knowing?
David, I don't know. There are guards and cameras everywhere. There are drones flying patterns above the camp. There's no place they can't see us.
Is there anyone on your side who could help?
I hesitate. I'm not sure. Maybe I could ask Corporal Reynolds.
Corporal Reynolds?
Don't freak out. He's a guard here. He's the one who got me the phones to call you. He's helping me.
Layla, that seems dangerous. Are you sure he's not trying to trap you?
I don't think he'd go to all this trouble to turn me in. I mean, they don't need reasons to take you away in this place.
Jesus. Fuck. I can't believe this is the world now.
Tell me about it. I trust him, David. I mean, as much as it's possible to trust a stranger in the camp, a guard. I think my gut is right about him.
If you trust him, I do too. Please be careful. I love you, Layla.
I hear a bell ring in the background. I would do anything to be at school right now, back to the way things were, to the before. Not now, in the endlessly painful after. I'll figure something out. I'll call you, or maybe I can ask him to. Either way, see you tomorrow? Maybe? I hope.
I love you forever, and I will see you tomorrow.
This might be the dumbest idea I've ever had. It's definitely the chanciest. But we've made the choice. The only direction now is forward. Chapter 14. My hands shake as I pull on my black hoodie. I guess it's my official sneak-out uniform now. David is here. Close. So close. I pray that nothing goes wrong. Corporal Reynolds agreed to help me. To help us. I'm pretty sure he feels bad about all this. He should. And on the outside, I might care that I'm using his sympathy or guilt to get him to conspire with me. But what other choice do I have? I tiptoe out of the trailer. It's a little past midnight. I have to get to the rock garden on my own. There are no guards outside, like Corporal Reynolds told me. I stick close to the Mercury homes, avoiding the searchlights. They travel across the camp in a pattern. So I count the seconds and run from shadow to shadow. My heart races, pounding in my ears, and my skin is covered in goosebumps. The logical part of my brain is screaming at me to stop, to go back to the trailer. But I don't stop. I can't. Corporal Reynolds is waiting for me at the garden. When he sees me, he puts his hand up, telling me to wait. A beam of light passes inches from where he is. Then he beckons to me to hurry. I sent the guards at this end away, and a buddy rerouted the drones. But you have 5 minutes, tops. You hear me? His voice is tight, strained, and his face looks stricken, but I'm not sure by what. The director is off-site today. That's why I was able to redirect a few things. But don't think you're safe. Not even with me by your side. Not for a second. Do you understand?
I nod. I hear the weight of his words, how serious he is about what he's saying. But I can't feel them. My only emotion right now is a giddy elation because David is here. Here. In this place. Where I thought everyone had forgotten us. But Corporal Reynolds is staring at me with expectant eyes. My half-hearted nod isn't enough. I get it, Corporal Reynolds. I'm in danger all the time.
Yes, you are. And like I said before, call me Jake. I think it's fair to say I've crossed the guard line here.
Jake? Thank you, I whisper. Before I realize what I'm doing, I put my hand on his arm, a tiny, spontaneous gesture of thanks that startles both of us. I pull my hand away. Jake points across the midway to a red metal tool shed at the back. There's a Jeep parked next to it. We hurry toward it, not saying a word, but I'm utterly certain the drumming of my heart is echoing through the canyon. Jake stops me at the door and hands me a flashlight.
Remember what I said. 5 minutes. Keep your ears open. If you hear my voice at all, don't move. Don't make a sound. Don't come out. I'll open the door when it's safe. Got it?
I nod and put my hand on the doorknob.
Layla,
Jake whispers.
There are no cameras in there, but speak softly.
I push open the door. It's so dark inside.
Layla.
It's him. It's his voice. I turn on the flashlight, and David steps toward me and wraps me in his arms. I cry into his shirt, and he holds me tighter. It feels so good to be held by him. Is it possible to miss something even more while you're experiencing it? Then we kiss. It's slow and soft and lovely, and makes me want to cry and laugh at the same time. For one perfect moment, the entire world disappears. David gently pulls me down to the ground. He turns so his back is against the door and draws me to him. He folds his right arm around my shoulders and knits my fingers through his. I want to sit here and not say anything. All night. Me. David with the floral notes of his clean clothes and the minty smell of his soap and the intimate, familiar ways our bodies fold into each other. It's what all humans want, isn't it? To be known. And David knows me. But we don't have world enough. Or time. We have minutes. Seconds. Soon we'll return to reality. Barbed wire and electric fence.
Layla, listen. They're not closing this place down. Another camp is opening in a few weeks. They've expanded the Muslim ban. Total immigration lockdown, and for tourists too. Even if you're not Muslim but are from a Muslim-majority country. But I have an idea.
The news guts me. An idea? For what?
Look, I don't know if this would work, but remember how I told you my dad said something about people making themselves useful?
I nod, not sure where David is going. Not sure I want to know.
It got me thinking. What if,
He pauses, takes a deep breath. He's never uncomfortable around me. But now I sense his muscles tense. His words are all stuck in him, and he's trying to force them out. David, you're making me nervous. What is it?
Do you think you could convince your parents to help the government with...
My mouth drops open, and I turn to David, grabbing the flashlight and directing its glare at his face. He puts up his hand to shield his eyes, so I lower the beam. What? You want my parents to help the assholes who put us in here? What the fuck, David? Did your dad put you up to this?
No, he has no idea. I thought that maybe if I could go to him and tell him your parents would, cooperate somehow, then he'd try to help you guys get out of here.
I wasn't thinking that they'd be holding guns to people's heads. They'd have to, I don't know, translate stuff, maybe? Keep the authority informed?
Tears flow down my face. David has punched a hole through my center. I open my mouth, stutter. I have so many words I want to scream right now, but they're all frozen inside me. And I can't scream. Not here. Not anywhere in this camp. David, have you lost your mind? You're the one person I have. The one person I trust on the outside. And now you want to make my parents... what? Collaborators? You want us to inform on other Muslims to save ourselves? They would never do that, and neither would I. I scoot away from him, then stand. David reaches out to touch me. I pull away. He stands up and cups my cheek with his hand. For an instant, I relax into it. The warmth, the familiar curve of his palm touching my skin. I sigh. Then I step back, the rage building inside me. I turn my back to him, trying to figure out what to say. He comes around and draws me into his arms, but I shove him back. He bends down and whispers into my ear. Layla, listen to me, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you or hurt you. But what if this is the only way to get you out, to keep you safe? Who are you right now? Your mom is Brown. Her last name is Shabazi, and without your dad's protection, some ignorant fascists might have mistakenly forced her into this camp too. And you want us to cooperate with them? Do you actually believe your dad would even go for your stupid idea? Did you even think this through? I was thinking I love you. That's all. I'm terrified, scared that you'll get hurt, or worse. I want you out of here because I know what happens to people who get sent to camps. My whole family knows. Don't you understand? I'm going crazy every second you're away from me. His voice breaks. I don't know how else to help you. I clench my jaw, but David's words also pierce my heart. If you even knew me at all, you would have realized how stupid it was to even ask. I look up at David, fury in my eyes. But there's also doubt in my heart. What I wouldn't give to be out of here, to be free, to know my parents are safe, to do regular, everyday things, to take a walk, to breathe, to sleep. But even if I begged my parents to do this, I can't imagine them giving in. If they wouldn't lie on the census, a small lie to hide us, they certainly aren't going to become traitors or spies. Even if they never saw who they were hurting, they would know that they were condemning people to internment, or worse. And living an ethical life, a moral life, is important to them. I can hear my dad's voice now, and I repeat the words that come to mind. In the quiet of night, the heart knows the lies you told to survive. Who said that? David asks. My dad, I whisper. Okay then. Exactly. Sometimes you have to do what you need to do to survive. Live to fight another day. No, David. That's not what the poem means. It means that you can never escape your lies, even if you think you have, even if it was to survive. The lies, your deception, are always with you. David sinks into himself like he's been punched. I don't think I've ever seen his face look so pale. Only now do I notice the bruise-like circles under his eyes. He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Tears well in his eyes. He clears his throat. His voice is barely a whisper. I'm afraid for you. I'm afraid of what they could do to you. If something happens to you, don't you think I'm scared too? I take a few steps to the door. Layla, I'm sorry. Please, I'm staying in town. I'm not going home. I'll figure out another way. I'm not leaving here without you.
The door opens. Jake is standing there. I can't imagine what the two of us look like. What I look like. Face wet with tears. Eyes swollen.
David, stay here like I instructed you. I'll drive you out under the tarp, same as the way we came in. Don't make a sound.
David nods at Jake's instructions, then looks at me and says,
I love you. I'm sorry.
He steps back into the darkness, and Jake closes the door. Jake and I hurry across the midway. I let him guide me, pulling me away from the light beams and into the shadows. Tears run down my face, too fast for me to wipe them away. I thought David would be able to help me somehow, and instead he wants us to become informers? I swipe my sleeve across my nose. My entire world is upside down. Jake produces a tissue from his pocket and hands it to me.
I don't think.
He pauses and rubs his hand across the back of his neck.
He's trying to help your family.
I ball my hands into fists. Anger wells inside me. Don't you think I know that? And were you listening in on us?
I heard most of it. It was hard not to. It's a flimsy tool shed. It's not soundproof. He's desperate, that's all.
I'm desperate too. But what he's suggesting, that's not an option. We can't do that. If we do, we'll be as bad as... I look up at Jake, and then stop myself and turn away.
Go ahead. Finish your sentence. You'll be as bad as me.
He winces as he says this. My mouth goes dry. What I said might have been terribly stupid or dangerous. I can't speak. Jake's eyes scan the area with each step. He's cautious, always observing and adjusting his behavior to the situation. He never speaks if anyone could possibly overhear.
Layla, listen to me. I told you before, it's not cut and dried, on the outside or in here. Things are happening. People are organizing. They're making their way down here. That little town, Independence, it's filling up with media and protesters. Occupy Mobius, they're calling themselves. The Secretary of War got doxxed by Anonymous. You know, the hacktivist group.
I stop and look at Jake, my eyes wide, and nod. My stomach churns. We're getting dribs and drabs of news from the outside, but nothing like this. Inside here, we're frozen in time, stuck. But outside, the world is still moving. Why are you telling me this?
Because what I think David wanted to tell you, what he might have told you if he weren't so terrified of losing you, is don't give up.
We arrive back at my trailer door. So maybe there's still hope, I whisper. Jake takes a half step toward me.
Inshallah,
he whispers. Chapter 15.
Inshallah.
Jake's voice rings in my ears. I'm not sure what it means that he said that. God willing. Everything and nothing? Like so much of life inside here, where you have to read into the tiniest gestures, whether they are dangerous, whether a wave means to hide or to say hello. I slide my hand under my pillow and pull out the note Jake passed to me this morning when I was getting some of our food rations. A note from David, which I guess he scribbled and gave to Jake after he'd driven him out of here. The note is an apology. It's a promise to help me in whatever way I think is best. Before seeing David, I thought our getting out was the most important thing. But when David came up with this ridiculous collaborator scheme, I realized I couldn't leave everyone behind. There are too many people who could get hurt. Perhaps I'm stupid and too short-sighted to see what the real fallout could be. Maybe this pain in my stomach is remorse. Maybe it's fear because I'm starting to understand what I have to do. You should consider it, Aisha says when I tell her about David's proposition. We're at the rock garden. She doesn't say it, but she keeps glancing across the midway, looking for Sohail, I'm assuming. How can you even suggest that? It might be your only way out. We keep talking about escaping, but how? Even if we got ourselves and our families out, where would we go? Try to get to Mexico, with all the border security? If we didn't die trying to get through the fence, or smuggling ourselves out in a supply truck, we'd get shot trying to climb the border wall, even though we were going into Mexico. I grab Aisha's hand. I'm not leaving you behind. I didn't even tell my parents about it. I don't want them to be tempted. They might do it for me, but I can't imagine them being able to live with themselves if they made that choice. They're scared. Parents will do anything to protect their kids. If I had that offer, I don't know if I could say no. Aisha's voice cracks. Remember what your dad said to you about fear when you were in the spelling bee? Sohail, too? About how we should be scared? About how we can use that? Aisha looks up at me, and it doesn't escape my notice that her eyes brighten every time Sohail's name comes up. Small blessings. I'm increasingly aware of and thankful for them. We can't fight back in here, not by ourselves. Jake told me there's stuff happening on the outside. We need to make those people see what is happening on the inside. Jake? The guard who helped me make the call to David. You're on a first-name basis with that guard? He can hurt us for no reason. He has a gun to shoot us. Do you even know what you're doing right now? Shit. I don't think it's like that with him. I explain what Jake said to me, but Aisha isn't convinced. Anyone can say Inshallah. It doesn't make them Muslim, or even if they are, it doesn't mean they're on our side. He could be saying that to win your trust. I get what Aisha's saying. I spent half the night lying awake wondering about it. Some Muslims I know, like this one uncle, says it all the time, like it means hopefully. One of the girls at the masjid complained that her mom basically used it as a nice way of saying no. Mom, can I go to the movies tomorrow? Inshallah, beta. I know non-Muslims who say Inshallah, God willing. But Jake saying it doesn't feel flippant or like a trick. I know how it seems, how it is. But I think he wants to help us. He used the word as a sign or a shibboleth. He used it as a shibboleth, she says. I shrug. It's a word you can use to distinguish who's on your side and who isn't. I can't remember all the details, but it comes from a story in the Hebrew Bible. One group was able to detect their enemies by their inability to pronounce the word shibboleth with the sh sound. So the word shibboleth is a shibboleth. Yup, basically. I look into Aisha's eyes. I know you're scared, but in my gut, I know that Jake's not the enemy. I hope my gut isn't wrong, because it's not just my life I'm risking, it's her life too. Aisha shakes her head. I don't know, Layla. It's a leap, and a dangerous one. I won't take any unnecessary risks, I promise. But even as I say the words, I know they are a lie. Aisha gives me a small nod in response, which I take as agreement. Have you read any Nietzsche? I ask. Aisha furrows her eyebrows at me and shakes her head. That's not how I usually spend summer vacation. He said something like, all I need is a sheet of paper and something to write with, and I can turn the world upside down. So you're planning on busting us all out of here with your cruel, cutting words? What is brewing in your brain? Have you ever heard of the white rose? She doesn't answer me. She's looking at Sohail as he approaches the garden. A smile spreads across her face. "Hey," he says as he draws closer. "Hey," Aisha replies. "Hey," he says again. Then there's silence. Aisha looks at her shoes and kicks at the dirt a bit. Sohail stuffs his hands into his jeans pockets and shifts his weight from one foot to the other. Was I also supposed to say hey? Is that the reason for the awkward silence?" I ask. Aisha turns to me and widens her eyes in a way that shows she's embarrassed, and also telling me to shut up. I ignore her and move to another rock so Sohail can take a seat on the boulder next to her. "What were you saying about the white rose?" Aisha asks me. "The white rose?" Sohail jumps in. "The brother and sister from World War II who wrote all those pamphlets urging other German college students to resist the Nazis?" "Yeah," I respond. "I don't remember every detail of their story, but I know they used their words to try to resist the Nazis." "I'm familiar with their story," Sohail responds, "and it doesn't have a happy ending. They were a group of students, and two of the leaders were Hans and Sophie Scholl. They handed out leaflets denouncing Hitler, totally risking their lives. They even advocated sabotaging the war efforts." "They sound pretty badass," Aisha says. Sohail continues. "Totally brave. But then a janitor at their university turned them in, and they were both executed. Some of the others were too. By guillotine." Aisha raises a hand to her mouth. "That's horrible," she whispers. "Why were you talking about them anyway?" Sohail asks. "Are you two figuring you're going to agitate? Resist?" As Sohail talks, I feel bile rising in my throat. But I also begin to remember more of the White Rose story from history class. They were killed because they refused to lie down and do nothing. They didn't stay silent. During the trial, I think Sophie said, "Somebody, after all, had to make a start." Didn't she? I think I remember seeing that in my textbook. And she was right. Somebody has to make a start, and it might as well be us. Aisha gulps. "But do you want to do leaflets in here?" "No. I want to write stories that will rile people up on the outside, and I'm going to ask David to get them out there. I know he's afraid, but at some point we have to stop talking and start reminding people of who we are. Americans. Human beings." "So say we all." Aisha puts her hand on my forearm. "But I'd like to avoid the capture and guillotine part." "They don't use the guillotine anymore," Sohail says. Aisha elbows him. "Not helping. I'm serious." "You're right. I'm sorry," he responds. "Total crap thing to say or be flip about." "Guys, look. This whole situation is bullshit. But I know we have to be careful. We can't play around with some half-assed romantic idea that we'll be the next resistance. We have to think about it, be smart, know who we can trust. But it's like Sophie said, somebody has to make a start, and it might as well be us." When I say this, I can hear the resolve in my voice. But inside I'm shaking. The confidence is a mask, like some of the lies we tell to make it through the day. Fake it till you make it is one of the most American attitudes I can think of. "Okay, so say, like, you write these stories. How are you going to get them to David? Your boyfriend, right? He's on the outside?" Sohail asks. David's name has come up before, but Sohail doesn't know the whole story about how Jake is helping me. When I share it with him, his mouth drops open, and for once he's too stunned to speak. So I'm going to see if maybe I can convince Jake to help me see David again. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the part about David getting snuck in by a guard. An exclusion guard. One that you're on a first-name basis with. Sohail narrows his eyes at me. He's not just a guard. I mean, he is, but there's more to it. To him. Then he should stand up and say something, shouldn't he? Fight back? Sohail says. Maybe he wants to do something but doesn't know where to begin. Or maybe he is helping us in some way, and we don't know how yet. I trust Layla's gut on this, and it's not like she's telling him all our plans. Aisha comes to my defense, but I hear her voice falter a little. She wants to believe in me, and I want to be worthy of her trust. There is no plan, Sohail says. He's terse, and I can see Aisha tense up, but she doesn't back down. That's the point of this conversation, to make a plan. And anyway, Layla said she was going to write, like, an article and get it to David. That's the seed. Aisha squares her shoulders to Sohail. No one is forcing you to be here, but if you're going to be, at least be helpful. Sohail takes a breath and nods. I'm here. I'm in. I'm with you. Of course I am. His voice softens as he speaks. I'm playing devil's advocate is all. I don't want you to get hurt. Or anyone else either. Same, Aisha whispers back. I've only known Aisha a few weeks, but from the moment we met, I could trust her. It was friendship at first sight. In a lot of ways, it was a new feeling for me. That sense of trust, of loyalty. There was David, of course. He is that and more. And I have friends on the tennis team and in student government. But no one tight. Not recently, anyway. I'm so grateful I have Aisha. I smile at her and say, I'm freaked too. But we won't be stupid. We'll plan. We'll hide in plain sight. We'll protect one another. We'll try our best. Sohail nods. Aisha steps over to me and gives me a hug and squeezes my hand. Okay, Sohail says. You are going to figure out a way to get a message to David. A way that can maybe fire people up on the outside. There are already protesters here and media. I want to light a match. Be a spark, I say. Sohail starts pacing around the boulders. But we also have to find a way to resist inside. While he's walking, Aisha opens a small plastic bag and hands each of us a sandwich. She smiles. I was a Girl Scout. I'm always prepared for my inevitable bouts of hunger. Sohail and I thank her and take the PB&J she hands us. I notice that Sohail's fingers linger on Aisha's when he reaches for his sandwich. Sohail looks at his food. Fast. We get people to fast. Like everyone skips dinner, refuses to eat. You have noticed that I get totally hangry, right? Aisha says. But maybe a protest fast. Missing the dinner slop at the mess one day isn't the worst idea ever. Sohail laughs. It's Gandhi-esque. It's in your DNA. He points to the two of us. Aisha rolls her eyes. Yes, you're right. All the Desis in America have regular meetings about being more Gandhi-like, and we spin our own cotton, too. And all the Arabs here know how to ride camels, right? Aisha playfully punches him in the arm, but it was probably a bit harder than Sohail expected, and he winces a little. Okay, I hear you. Checking my assumptions. Aisha tilts her head. One upside, Muslims are used to fasting. Who knew Ramadan was preparing us for this? I interject. It's only one meal. Besides, 3 people won't get much attention. How do we get other people to join in? Sohail proposes the threads of a plan. We start with a core group. I'd like to bring Nadia and Nadim, the twins on my block, in on it, and some others. Next Friday, the director is letting us choose seats at dinner to show us his supposed generosity, right? Let's use it. We need a group of us, enough to get attention. But how do we know who we can trust? We need to recruit people. Aisha looks right at Sohail, who smiles back at her. He responds, "Recruiting is my thing. I recruited like 6 ballers for the soccer team at school. I'll get people. But we can't all meet here. 3 people eating sandwiches doesn't look suspicious, but more than 5, and the drones will start to sniff out a conspiracy." Aisha smiles. I know! Last week, when I was at the Hub Library, I suggested a teen vegetable garden to the librarian, and she was into it. She even requisitioned tools and seeds and stuff. So we plant. Get some tools. Do some work. Rebel. Yes, I think. Sow the seeds. Perfect. Chapter 16. Aisha and I are still buzzing from our conversation with Sohail earlier today. As we walk down the midway toward the mess, one of the director's shiny red drones flies above us, slows down, and follows. We stop talking altogether, too nervous to speak. Then Aisha mentions the dinner from the night before and goes on to list all the foods she misses from the outside. I turn my chin up to gaze directly at the drone's camera. I wonder if it's sending a live feed into the director's office. Creepy. Unsettling. I don't like being watched. I refuse to get used to it. We keep walking and talking, building our missed food wish list. Flaming hot Cheetos. Chocolate cake with real buttercream frosting. In-N-Out animal-style burgers. Badmash fried chicken. Biryani. Keema paratha. Samosas. Food truck tacos. Salmon sushi. And now I'm starving. But the drone moves on, heading toward the back of the camp, which is weird because everyone else is heading forward toward the mess. It's dinner. It's required. The only reason... We hear yelling and the sound of boots on the ground, and then a dozen guards run past us. I pull Aisha toward the mess. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the director and his private security detail following behind the guards. This can't be good. I'm going to go see what's happening. I whisper to Aisha. Are you cracked? We're supposed to be in the mess. I'll only be a few minutes. Besides, something is going on, and I'm sure everyone is going to be distracted. Aisha sighs. Fine. I'm going with you. If only to tell you to hurry up and get back to the mess, where the major risk is indigestion, as opposed to getting shot out here. I smile a little. Then, when the guard at the mess door steps toward the midway to see what's happening, I grab Aisha's hand and dart behind one of the admin trailers. We wait, then dash behind some Mercury homes. We move closer to the direction of the guards and the drones, but keep some distance between us and the midway so we can't be seen. Then we hear screams. I stop short. I can't breathe. Goosebumps spring up all over my body. I look at Aisha. All the blood has left her face. We peek out from behind the Mercury home. A woman is being dragged down the midway by the director's small special force, his personal security guards, as the director follows calmly, walking with his hands clasped behind his back like he's on a stroll, as if his hands don't have blood on them. It's Noor. Oh God, no. During our first few days here, Noor caught me smiling at her American flag hijab while we were both doing laundry, and she introduced herself. Block 6, she said, rolling her eyes. Arab American. She told me authority suits grabbed her from her dorm room for seditious acts. When I asked her if she had done what they claimed, she looked at me with a mysterious smile and said, "Rebellion is as American as apple pie, and so is fascism." Now she's being hauled down the midway, pulled by each arm, bleeding from her mouth and her forehead. She's writhing and trying to kick and twist herself out of the grasp of the director's private security guards. They ignore her screams, like she's a ghost they can't see or hear. I can't turn away. I step forward. Aisha pulls me back behind the Mercury home, but it doesn't matter, because no one is in the mess anymore. Everyone is standing around, watching. Out of the corner of my eye, I see 2 black women run toward Noor. They're young, maybe in their 20s, block 7 or 8. No, stop! They'll take you too, I want to scream. But the words catch in my throat. Neither of the women has a weapon. The one I've met before, Asma, has close-cropped hair and wears a bright yellow tee with "bad brains" splashed across the front in red letters. She lunges for one of the men taking Noor away. An exclusion guard immediately steps up, grabs her by the shirt, and elbows her in the face, like she's inconsequential to him. She falls to the ground, cradling her head in both hands, groaning. 2 guards yank her up. Then the action feels like it slows down. There's screaming and dirt getting kicked up and clouds of fine dust filling the air. I hear Aisha say, "Oh no, it's Bilqis." In the frenzy, Bilqis, who's wearing a pale blue hijab, sucker punches one of the guards, right in the face. Blood spurts out of the guard's nose and mouth. A beatific smile crosses her face, but before she can take another step, 2 guards are on her. One punches her in the gut, and when she's doubled over, another guard kicks her to the ground and handcuffs her. When they pull her up, the guard she punched stomps up to her and rips off her hijab. Bilqis spits in his face, and he slaps her hard, so hard that her scream could crack the earth. Blood is everywhere, smeared across their faces and clothes. I keel over, sure I'm going to be sick. Aisha rushes to me. There is so much screaming and deep, almost animal-like sounds from the women. People in the crowd yell and curse and cry. Guards hold them back as Noor and Asma and Bilqis are taken away. But we don't disperse. Someone from the back of the gathering throws a rock. It hits one of the director's security team in the arm. There are cheers. But when I glance at the director, I know this is going to cost us. His splotchy red face looks like it's going to explode. He marches over to one of his security guards, takes his handgun, raises it in the air, and shoots. The shot rings out and reverberates through the mountains. He does it again. The crowd quiets. Then there are only the echoes of the women's screams. The director waits, the gun still raised. He waits longer. It's unbearable, hearing the last distant sounds from the women as they're taken who knows where. My God, they are so brave. My heart is in my throat. This is what the director wants. He wants us to hear the screams. He wants us to know that it could be us screaming. and then there is absolute silence. Chapter 17. My parents tucked me in. They haven't done this since I don't know when. No one has said a word beyond the absolute minimum since the incident with the 3 women. The director let us eat dinner, and we did so without speaking. It was excruciating. No sounds except people chewing and forks tapping against plastic plates, and parents shushing their babies who didn't know any better. If fear had a sound, it would be the painful, heavy silence in the mess tonight. "Do you want me to stay with you, Beta?" my mom asks. Her voice is so soft, it's almost heartbreaking. I smile up at my parents. "No, I'm okay."
If you ever want to talk, about anything, your mom and I are always here for you. We can always take a walk with you.
My dad pats me on the knee.
They're trying to be reassuring, but they also probably know that they're failing. It's an impossible task.
I kiss them both on their cheeks, and they step out.
I wait until I hear them shut the door to their room to get out of bed.
I step to my tiny desk, turn on the lamp, and take a seat.
No way I can sleep tonight. The bloody, stricken faces of those women will not leave my mind.
And neither will their bravery.
I try not to wonder what is happening to them, what could happen, but I surrender my imagination to its most terrifying conclusion. Honestly, it probably is so much worse in real life.
Since I can't sleep, I open the notebook I brought with me, and I write. I write about life inside Mobius, about Noor, about the brave women who tried to intercede, and the woman with the ponytail at the orientation, and the desperate man who was so quiet as they took him away after his partner was disappeared. And I write about the screams. Those screams will be etched in my memory forever. I write it all in tiny print as legibly as possible, despite my shaky hand, while I wipe away tears so they don't soak into the paper. I fold it up into a small square and tuck it under my pillow for now. Before the incident, Jake reluctantly agreed to get the note to David. I'm scared for him. For me. For David. I can't even imagine what the director will do if he gets wind of this. It would be impossible to talk our way out of it. It's probably treason, like everything else these days. That whole freedom of speech thing, that right to petition your government. Yeah, doesn't exist so much inside an internment camp. I glance at myself in the Mylar mirror. My face is all puffy and red, like I've scrubbed it too hard with exfoliant. I drag myself over to the bed and rest my head on the pillow. My eyes sting. I let them close. There's clattering in the common area. I bolt up and barely miss hitting my head. I'm never going to get used to having a damn bunk. I swing my legs over the edge of the bed. I feel woozy. I grip the sides of the mattress to steady myself. There are so many times I've woken up confused, wondering whose bed I'm in, whose room. This morning, my head feels thick, but I know where I am. I know what I have to do. I get up, splash water on my face, and change into my favorite jeans and my mom's old X-Files tee. All my clothes feel dirty. There's a laundry, but even after the wash, nothing I wear feels clean. It's like the dust in Mobius is woven into the fiber of every article of clothing that touches my skin. Before I head out of my room, I take the note from under the pillow and slip it into my back pocket. I step into the cramped common space of our trailer. My parents are glued to the media unit, watching the latest announcement. There's no real news, Only what the director wants us to hear. And what he wants us to know today is that everything is back to normal after the troublemakers were dealt with. Then he turns back to the goings-on at Mobius. "Looks like plans for the community garden are underway," my mom says when she sees me. "There's even a teen garden section." She gives me a hollow smile. She is so pale. We've been in the blazing sun for a few weeks, and yet my mom is a ghost. I take a couple steps and stand next to her. She rubs the space between my shoulder blades, a gesture that always calmed me down when I was little. I look from my mom to my dad and realize they are not going to bring up yesterday. They are not going to talk about the violence or the bravery. Maybe working in the garden will make some people smile. We have to try to get along the best we can, my mom says, her voice uncharacteristically meek. Be happy we have each other. Her voice falters. Be happy we're alive. Why? Why do we have to sit around and take it like it's all okay? Did you not see what I saw last night? I wish everyone would stop acting like this is all normal. It's not normal. I raise my voice more than I should. Layla. My dad's voice is even as ever, cognizant of the camera and of being watched. Your mother is simply saying that we should do our best to make a community here. Before you know it, we'll be back at home. I understand why my parents put on a show for the cameras, but I can't stand it anymore. I'm scared they'll start believing what they're saying. What if we never get out of here? What if we die in here? People died in American internment camps during World War II, and I'd rather die fighting back than going along with everything. I'm so weary of the ever-present gaze. Fury courses through my veins. But I'm being reckless, and that's dangerous for my parents, and for me. There's a fire raging inside me, and I feel like I could burst into a million tiny embers. I look at my mom's face. Her fatigue is painful to witness. I know I'm part of the reason she looks that way. I dig my fingernails into my palms and press until it hurts. I look at the deep red crescents my nails made in my skin. I sigh and take a shaky breath. I promised Aisha that I'd be careful, and that I wouldn't do something stupid and rash. It's a show. I can't forget that. I bite my lip. Sorry, Mom and Dad. You're right. I was being stupid. I didn't mean it. My mom clasps my hands, and my dad's hands rest on top of hers. It strikes me that the look in their eyes, the one I don't remember existing until we got to this place, is a unique kind of fear. You wonder if you'll ever see your kid again when they step out the door. There are layers to fear and complexities, and being trapped here brings that to light. I tell my parents I'm meeting Aisha, but it's a lie, and it's for their own good. I kiss them goodbye, giving them a little wave at the door. Stepping outside, I nearly trip down the stairs because Jake is standing by my front door and totally startles me. Sorry, he says, catching me by the elbow before I fall to the ground. I look up at him. He pulls his hands away immediately. I've been waiting for you to come out. We planned to see each other so I could give Jake the note, but I didn't realize he meant that he was going to be stalking my front doorstep. Also, he seems anxious, which is unusual. I adjust the hem of my t-shirt and straighten my hair. Awkward is the first word that comes to mind right now. I look around and reach into my back pocket. Jake puts his palm up, stopping me. Come with me. Don't ask questions. I hesitate. thinking of my conversation with Aisha and Sohail. Maybe I really have read everything wrong. Why does he seem so nervous? I keep telling Aisha and Sohail that I trust my gut about Jake. I told David too. But what if my gut is totally wrong? What if Aisha was right the first time she warned me about him? I hate doubting myself. A part of me wonders if maybe I am foolish for trusting him. I follow Jake anyway. If my instinct is wrong, and he has only been gaining my trust to bust me, then he can drag me away anytime he wants to. Jake marches me right through the middle of camp, greeting and saluting the other guards, nonchalant, like he has orders to take me somewhere. Maybe he does. We walk past the hub and head straight for the mess. The mess is only open for dinner. We do our other meals on our own with whatever rations they give us, which are usually ridiculous. The other day there was a bottle of ketchup in our food box, and on the itemized list it was marked as a vegetable. A vegetable! First of all, tomatoes are fruit. But anyway, ketchup is a condiment with like 0 nutritional value. But I guess that is not their big concern here. Why are we going to the mess? Are you going to let me steal some extra mayonnaise packets? Mayo counts as, like, what? Eggs? Jake gives me the side eye, but doesn't respond to my snark, which I've been trying to suppress, in large part for my parents' peace of mind. But it's impossible to keep all of myself totally hidden, even inside Mobius, where showing too much of yourself can get you hurt or disappeared. The lights are off in the mess. It's echoey and eerie, like it's haunted. Why does he want me in here? Goosebumps rise on my skin. He's quiet. Too quiet. Jake walks to the back of the kitchen and gestures for me to follow. I do, tentatively, but keep some distance. I'm hyper-aware of how far the exits are, and I calculate how fast I'd have to run to get clear of here if I needed to. The kitchen is dark, and Jake opens a closet door. Jake, Corporal Reynolds, I don't understand what... I stumble back a little. Layla. David steps out of the darkness. My mouth drops open. David is wearing a khaki jumpsuit with the Exclusion Authority patch on his short sleeve. What the hell? I look from David to Jake, utterly bewildered. I'll leave you two alone. But you don't have a lot of time. The sanitation truck leaves in 15 minutes. You have 5 in here. Jake walks into the dining area. My heart stops for a second. My mind races. David, what's going on? I whisper. David sees me staring at his uniform. Oh, this? Corporal Reynolds got me this uniform and arranged for me to sneak in here with the garbage removal service. What? How? When did you see him? My mind floods with questions, and my body pulls me toward David, but I hesitate, hold back for a second. On the outside, by the motel I'm staying in. Listen, I don't have time to explain everything. We only have a couple of minutes. I'm sorry about the other day. About everything. I am so scared for you. I didn't think it through. I never considered what I was actually asking. The compromises I suggested you make. I don't know. I guess I was hoping that I could make some kind of proposal to my dad. Your freedom in exchange for you and your parents cooperating with the Exclusion Authority. Like I even have any leverage to do that. My dad would never take me seriously. Or help me. Help us. I'm sorry. But I meant what I said. If you need me, I'm here for you. Tell me what to do. For a moment, I'm stunned. At his words. At this impossible situation. And then I'm in David's arms, and I see myself like I'm outside my body, drawing closer to him, closing my eyes, raising my lips to his, letting this place melt away. Kissing him feels like the one thing keeping me really and truly alive in this place. It's a reminder of everything that has been taken from us, but it also gives me hope. That feeling lasts only a fleeting second, though, because in the next, I wonder if David can hear my stomach churn. I'm ridiculously overjoyed to see him, but also terrified for both of us. If he gets caught in here, like this, I don't know how much his father can protect him. And my thoughts wander to Jake. I was right. He won't give us up. And that makes me scared for him, too. When we pull away from kissing, I reach into my back pocket and hand over the post I wrote. Tell him my idea. Tell him about the white rose, about Sophie Scholl, about what I need him to do. What I know he will do. Jake clears his throat loudly. Time. The minutes are long in Mobius, but also there is never enough time. He told you, right? There are people talking and protesting, and the Occupy people are here. The rooms in town are all sold out. They're sleeping in cars and tents. They brought the press. There's this reporter at the motel. I talked to her this morning at breakfast. She's super sympathetic. She has Muslim family. She'll get your article out there. I'm sure of it. People will hear your words. Between sentences, David peppers my face with kisses. Please be careful. My name isn't on that. But if your name is revealed, they'll come after you and your parents. My parents would go apeshit. But I don't care. I know they want to protect me, but they need to remember the prejudice they've faced and fought. They need to wake up. I'll be okay. David kisses my forehead. Trust me. Then he puts his finger to his lips and slips me a small flip phone. He puts his lips to my ear. It's a burner. Don't tell him. Call or text me when you can. I nod and slip the phone into my front pocket, happy that this old X-Files t-shirt is loose and pulled out of shape so that it stretches down well past my hips and hides the outline of the phone. Then I respond normally. I do trust you. It's everyone else in this stupid world I don't trust. And things are happening here, too. I mean, they will. We're talking about things happening. Layla, please don't give them an excuse to hurt you. This camp is operating outside the law. The Attorney General can't even control it. I know. I'm on the inside, remember? But I can't sit by and do nothing. Sophie Scholl's words come to mind. Someone has to make a start. David pulls me into his arms, and his hug feels like I'm enveloped in my beloved Kanta quilt. You're amazing. We stand there for a second, quiet. And it reminds me of a line from a Walt Whitman poem my dad sometimes whispers to my mom. There we two, content, happy in being together, speaking little, perhaps not a word. I love you, David whispers, and runs his index finger across the necklace he gave me. When Jake walks back into the kitchen, David kisses me one more time. His kiss is feather light, and there is a kind of beautiful and bittersweet magic in it. He picks up 2 bulging black garbage bags and heads out a side entrance. Watching him walk out of the room crushes me. Jake pauses, waiting for David to leave before he takes my elbow and directs me back through the main dining hall and outdoors. He's the one I'm most flummoxed by in all of this. He walks unusually slowly, dragging his feet back to my trailer. He scans the space around us and the sky above us, and then comes to an abrupt halt and faces me.
Wait. Please.
He pauses.
Writing that story and giving it to David. Jesus. I shouldn't have snuck him in here. I can only protect you so much. I have orders. If you're planning on doing something inside here, some kind of civil disobedience or insubordination, you're going to get caught. There will be consequences, and I don't know how much I can shield you.
Jake's face contorts with worry. Normally, he's so composed, barely betraying any emotion. He's taking a risk, too. But that's his choice. I'm making choices for myself. I narrow my eyes at him and shove my hands into my pockets. I gave him a note, that's all. Jake rolls his eyes and tips his head to the sky. He takes a deep breath.
The director is not an idiot. You see the cameras. I told you, there's only so much I can take care of right now. He will see you, and if he catches on to what you two are doing, or whatever you're planning to do on the inside, the consequence is going to be far worse than what you've seen. I heard you talking about the White Rose. Those kids were executed. This has to stop now. I'm not going to be a party to this anymore. I'm a fool for letting it go this far. The risks. You have no idea.
My heart stops. So far, the only way I've been able to see David is with Jake's assistance. But maybe I've been stupid to rely on him. If we get caught.
When you get caught.
Jake puts his hand on my arm.
Remember that. Not if. When.
I don't get it. Are you threatening us? If you're going to narc on us, go ahead and tell the director. It's not like I can do anything to stop you.
I'm not turning you in. Don't you see that by now? You need protection. Things are escalating in here. It's not only me,
Jake stops, looks down and shakes his head. You have what?
Nothing. There are others trying to help, within certain parameters. But we won't be able to save you if the director orders an extrajudicial transfer and directs his private security detail to seize you in the middle of the night. You don't know what he is capable of. I do. Trust me on this.
I think we saw a pretty good demonstration of his capabilities.
People getting tased, butted with a gun, dragged away, punched. That's nothing. That could have happened at a police station. Here, in this camp, once they take you into custody, this land is a designated war zone. Rules don't apply.
I get it. Our civil liberties have been shredded.
It's not about violating your constitutional rights. If you're caught and taken to a black ops site for interrogation, they will do things to you. Things you can't imagine. That woman taken at the orientation, she wasn't sent to black ops. That was getting roughed up a bit. I'm talking torture. You know those guys who go missing? Why do you think they never come back?
His words slam into my chest. So far, David, Aisha, Sohail, and we've mostly talked and planned and played at being the Mobius resistance. Now I realize how totally amateur we've been. The stakes are high. The highest. And I'm not sure if any of us are ready to take on the director and his real-world consequences. I take a deep breath. I have to do something. If what you're saying is true, we have to tell people. I don't think people on the outside will tolerate this if they know.
That's why the director wants this place airtight. Information does not get out. This camp is the first. Another is about to open, and the high command within the authority won't stop at 2. They want internment to go wide-scale.
High command?
It's all under the auspices of the Secretary of War, but it's made up of Homeland Security guys, CIA and FBI too. You need to understand that the president operates like the Constitution is a blank slate. His party holds the Senate and the House. No one is challenging him. People won't even call him out on his blatant lies.
My shoulders fall. I feel like my entire body is going to melt into the floor. I look into his eyes and whisper, "Help us, Jake." He takes a tissue out of his pocket and hands it to me.
Let's keep moving. This looks suspicious. I've got to get you back.
As we turn to continue our walk back to Block 2, the director's very large presence steps in front of us, blotting out the sun. One of the drones follows behind him.
Director!
Jake struggles to gather himself, then clicks his heels into attention.
Sir.
This is as near as I've ever been to the director. This close, I see that his jaw juts out, making his swollen purple lips even more prominent. I turn my head to look at Jake, but his eyes are trained on an object in the distance. I wish I could do that. Focus, but not focus. But when my adrenaline spikes like it is now, when my body feels fight and flight in the same instant, everything falls into sharp focus, almost too sharp, and I hear the grind of a truck's engine starting up, desert floor crunching under heavy wheels. I wonder if that's the truck David's on. I pray it is. I imagine the gate opening and closing, and him being safe on the outside. The director uses silence. Like after that woman was tased, and when he waited for Noor's and Asma's and Bilqis's screams to fall away, making sure we all heard. Silence might be a tool, but it doesn't look like one he wields comfortably. He pulls at his collar with his index finger. The sun beats down on us. I watch as sweat beads up on his forehead. He dabs at it with a white handkerchief.
I see you ventured on a little field trip, Miss Amin. Not hanging out with your friend on the block? What, watching the soccer players?
He knows my name. He knows all of us. I've been trying not to draw attention to myself. Maybe I've been careless. The director might be uncomfortable, but he's not unaware. Every muscle in his body seems ready to pounce like a dog that has been trained to fight. My chest tightens. Too tight. I pray that this stupid baggy t-shirt conceals the phone in my pocket. The blood rushes to my head, and the world feels like it's tilting. I focus my eyes on a single point in the distance to keep my balance. I straighten my shoulders and remind myself to breathe. Yes, Director, sir. It's just that My mind goes blank. I have no words.
She lost her necklace in the mess, sir, and I escorted her there so she could find it.
Jake steps in, using the same lie I gave him. He speaks faster than usual, his consonants not as crisp. The director moves in closer. Every cell in my body screams at me to run, but my feet are glued in place. He runs his thick index finger over my infinity necklace. It's the same gesture David made, but vile. My stomach lurches. I turn my face away and close my eyes.
That looks like a very special necklace,
the director says.
I taste the bile in my throat.
Yes, it is. My boyfriend gave it to me.
The director smiles.
It's revolting. And I realize immediately I've said something I shouldn't have. I made myself less anonymous. I gave him an opening. And I have no doubt he'll use it as ammunition if he needs to.
A boyfriend? How nice. He's not in here with you? So I don't suppose he's a Muslim now, is he?
Shit. Why did I open my mouth? And why did the truth have to come out of it? No, sir, I whisper.
And you are aware that the Exclusion Authority frowns on this type of interreligious mingling?
I cringe at his words, but say nothing. I cross my arms over my stomach and look down at the ground. My breaths feel shallow, feathery. I hear Jake's boot heel grinding into the dirt. The director continues, clearly not noticing or not caring how uncomfortable his words make me. No, he wants this. My discomfort, my pain.
So, what is your boyfriend's religion?
My eyes start to sting. I blink, willing myself not to cry. But I lose this battle with myself, and a tear falls down my cheek. Lying is not going to work now. It's too easy for him to find out the truth. A quick call to my high school and he'll know David's name, too. He's Jewish, I say. Saying it out loud feels like a betrayal. America might only be rounding up Muslims right now, and the director might only be focused on us. But bigots don't generally limit their hate. Islamophobes are likely anti-Semites, too. From the scowl on his face, I'm guessing the director is one of them.
Yes, well...
The director pauses and inches closer to me. I can smell stale coffee on his breath.
Do let me know if you misplace that precious souvenir again. I have eyes everywhere, all the time.
He glances at the nearby drone, then turns his eyes back to me.
Sir,
Jake says loudly. Louder than needed for how close we all are. The director takes a step back and looks toward Jake.
Corporal.
Sir, I'll be taking an additional patrol duty since Johnson was called away. His replacement should be reporting to Mobius within the week, sir.
Good. I'm sure you have it under control.
The director strokes his chin and nods.
Sir, yes, sir.
The director steps past me, presumably heading to his office in the admin building. Then he stops and turns back. I suck in my breath and bite my lip. I take a wobbly step backward. Jake places his hand behind my back to steady me. The drone behind the director rises up to shoulder level and turns its camera to me.
Remember what I said, Miss Amin. I see everything. I will keep this camp safe. You can rest assured of that,
he says, then walks away, threats lingering in the dust of his wake.